that the reason why I believe the Philippines played a significant role in Bible prophecy is if we understand what Bible prophecy is all about, if we understand, he talks about the Messiah, and he talked about the King of Israel, and he talked about coming first to Israel, and he talked about their rejection was your acceptance, and he talked about his return to Jerusalem, his return to Israel. This all means that the Jewish people must survive, and the land of Israel must be back in their hands, and the city of Jerusalem must be restored back to their hands. That's what it means. And you may take it for granted, but up until 70 years ago, it wasn't anything that you would think that is possible. Ladies and gentlemen, we were people who were massacred not by religious fanatics. We were massacred by people who called themselves enlightened ones, by people of the highest education, people of the highest standards of living, people of the European elite. We were not the burden on their economy, we were their economy. And yet, we were led to the slaughter. And it started with Germany killing and deporting and expelling in the 1934, 35, 36. Of course, in 1938, Germany annexed Austria, and in 1939, Germany invaded Poland, and now Jews from Poland are expelled from their homes, and it was a chaos. And this is exactly why something happened in Paris that is related to the to the German behavior to the Jewish people. It happened to be that there's a young man, age 19, that he entered into the German embassy in Paris after he received a letter from his family that they were all expelled or killed. He was so angry. 19 years old, a Jewish teenager. He took the gun and he killed the first German, not ambassador, but diplomat that he saw. That sparked violence against Jews that broke out across the German Reich, in Austria and in Germany. Ladies and gentlemen, overnight, 250 synagogues were burned down, 7,000 Jewish businesses were trashed and looted, hundreds of Jews actually were killed, and then Jewish cemeteries, Jewish hospitals, schools, and homes were looted while police and fire brigades stood by. Those pogroms became known as Kristallnacht because all the shattered glasses, crystal, Nacht is night, the night of the shattered glasses. And those shattered glasses are from those store windows that littered the streets. The next day, more than 30,000 Jews were arrested in the crime of being Jews and sent to concentration camps. Jewish women were also arrested and sent to local jails. Business owned by Jews were not allowed to reopen unless they were managed by non-Jews. Curfews were placed on Jews, limiting the hours of the day that they could leave their homes. A month after Kristallnacht, not in America, not in Europe, in Manila, demonstrations against what is going on in Europe and against what is being done to the Jewish people. And when the president of the Commonwealth of the Philippines at that time, Manuel Quezon, heard about this, I asked him, why are they doing that? He was informed of what is really going on with the Jewish people. Bear in mind, it's 1939. The world is still unaware of the Nazi intentions. The final solution is only 1941. So in 1939, nobody was sensitive enough to even deal with the Jewish issue. No one. And the Philippines, under the leadership of Manuel Quezon, became a sanctuary for at least 12, maybe 1,300 Jews, rendered stateless by the Nazi racist regime. Quezon collaborated with a Jewish family that lived here, American Jews that had a cigar factory, and they managed to bring those Jewish people as workers to that factory and say that, in fact, Quezon had in mind 10,000 Jews. He even gave his own land in Mindanao for that project. Unfortunately, the Japanese invasion stopped that plan, and only 1,300 Jews were saved. But Manila can be proud, and the Philippines can be proud, that you guys saved Jewish lives when no one wanted to save them. On May 13, let me give you an example. A few months earlier, May 13, 1939, more than 900 Jews fled Germany aboard a luxury cruise liner called St. Louis. They hoped to reach Cuba and then also to travel to the US. Cuba said no, America said no, Canada said no. The ship had to return, and more than 250 of them were killed by the Nazis. While the world was closing its gates at the face of the Jewish people, who understood what is coming up against them, the Philippines was one of the very selected group of people that were honored to help save the Jewish people. And that was before Israel was even born. It was about saving the Jewish people, not saving the state of Israel at the time. Remember, in Matthew 25, Jesus is speaking of how the nations will be divided to sheep and goats, according to how they're going to treat Jesus' least of his brothers during the tribulation. The Jewish people will be getting another dose of anti-Semitism during the tribulation. And the only nations and the only people that will help them throughout that time will be called sheep and will be allowed into the kingdom.